So evil eyes they cannot hurt us. All right, so that's the coming back with another one, and today I'm not at the football pitch, but we have a football pitch in frame, hopefully here. So we're gonna be speaking about. I'm gonna be speaking to you about football. Surprise! We're gonna talk about everything that happened for this past week, all the things that have been happening, and things that are happened last week. We're going to cover them, and we're going to start with, obviously, I have a list today with me, actually, that's improving, just like Ineos. Margin improvement, just micro percentage improvements. But anyway, so UCL final, right? That's the biggest event probably of European season. It happened a couple of days ago already, because I'm recording this on Monday evening, and the final was on Saturday evening, and I was so surprised actually that it started at 8 p.m. my time here. And because UCL games usually, right, it's like, for me it's 11 p.m. so they're like later in the evening. For maybe Europe it's like exactly like this time, but this final, it was basically daytime for Europe, and I was like, okay, so the reason why I'm saying this is because I didn't watch it at home. So I started watching it at this food place that I went to, and I was watching it from my phone, basically. That's it. And then after the first half, we moved to a different location, and there was a projector, so there was a watch-along, I guess, and we watched it there, the second half and penalties, and extra time, obviously, both halves. So where I was going with this, so that was a little bit... that's why I missed the first goal, obviously. I missed Arsenal's goal, and I didn't see how Havertz scored in real time, but I saw only a replay because basically, long story short, I was expecting the game to start much later, and that's why I didn't really check it, because I was pretty sure that it's going to start at 11 p.m. my time. So I was taking my time, and I also wanted to have some food before the game, but in this case I had to change my plans quickly, and I had to move out and actually go to that place. And when we arrived already and we sat behind the table, the game was already they started, and Havertz already scored the goal, and they were replaying the goal. I haven't seen the controversy before the goal. I haven't watched a lot of videos about the game, actually. I haven't watched a lot of videos in general, so this one will be different because I don't have really any data with me. My phone is there. I'm recording with my phone. I don't have any laptop. I don't have internet. It's just that's why it's yapping session, sort of, because I don't really have any data or information to back any points or look something up, etc. I cannot really do that. So just my experience with this game. I'm pretty sure there are other channels, and there are plenty of people who are covering games Tactically Breakdown, I mean the ones I watch, and who actually maybe be more on a kind of football fact-based analytical side of things, but whatever. So I was not really surprised that they scored. It was almost like I expected Arsenal to score an early goal, because I had this feeling they had a kind of emotional, energetic spike because of the Premier League that they won. Not only that they won it, they lifted the trophy, and they were in very good spirits. And PSG, something happened there. I don't really know what exactly happened. They had a parade also, Arsenal, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, they were already celebrating, and they were feeling great. The fans started, to, how can we say it? What's the right word to describe what they were doing? Being even more annoying, Arsenal fans. Because there's, we'll later talk about it, but there is a weird combination of this kind of behavior patterns that Arsenal fans are doing. After the UCL already yesterday, I went to see a paddle game, and there was a guy at the paddle court, and he was wearing Actually, one guy was wearing Aston Villa shirt, number 9 Rashford, and I was like, what the hell? It's like, that's such a weird choice of a shirt. Like, I mean, Aston Villa is not like the top team, and also like Rashford, probably this guy is like a personal fan or something like this, because there is no other reason to wear like Rashford shirt, number 9 from Aston Villa. You can wear 14 Barca Rashford, or you wear Man United, because this is like hyped. But anyway, Rashford also got to talk about his Barcelona situation. So, oh my goodness, I already forgot what I was talking about. So let's backtrack. A fan of Arsenal. So that I seen, like, he was wearing like that lime green with patterns, like short, like almost fluorescent green shirt that they had like a couple of seasons back, already with Adidas. And so he was wearing this away shirt, and I was like curious whose shirt is this, like whose number on the back and whose name on the back. And then he turned his back and he started walking, and I saw that his shirt said, "We dominate you, 90, number 90. We dominate you, number 90." And I was so frustrated because it was already after the UCL final, and they lost that final, and they didn't dominate anyone. Matter of fact, not only they didn't dominate PSG in that final, tell me any game, can you tell me 15 games or 10 games in their season where they dominated opposition, and when they actually outplayed opposition in football and they were convincing in their performance? So that's my question to people who are watching Arsenal, to people who watch maybe football, who watched a lot of Arsenal games this season, because I don't really understand like what's the deal with that, you know? It's like, what's the deal with that team and what's the deal with those fans? That's what I don't understand. It was just like speechless, right? So you let me know how you feel about that shirt. But it was like, I didn't even take a picture because it's like, I'm not going to give it too much importance, but I'm going to mention it just to use this example, use it as an example to show you guys like what the hell is going on with Arsenal fan base. There should be like a doctorate written on that topic, I think. Anyway, so Arsenal, right? So I think their plan, so they had this emotional, energetic spike before UCL final, and PSG players, I think there was something, I saw like a small video that they were like arguing or during training, or someone was dissatisfied or something. So I'm saying it to say that it felt like, from my perspective, I'm not following PSG, I'm not watching their every game, I don't know what's happening inside the team, like in the dressing room, etc. So the point is that I felt like PSG are on a little bit like low in terms of emotions, energy, in terms of this kind of like feeling that, yeah, we're gonna get it. And Arsenal, I think they were on this like wave of like some positive emotions. Usually they fake these positive emotions, and they are doing like their coach doing this toxic positivity and also gaslighting and all this stuff. But Arsenal this time, they were actually on this positive energy. So I started thinking, you know what, Arsenal probably they have chances. Maybe they're gonna score. Maybe it's not going to be such a like one-sided game. And of course we know that Arsenal, the main feature that they have, it's their defense, and the way that they can like dry the games. They can make them so dry, like it's Nevada, or it's like I don't know, Sahara or something. It's crazy, because that's exactly what they did. They scored this goal. A lot of people say that it was a lucky goal. Luis Enrique also said they got lucky. After the game, in this interview, he said they got lucky and they scored the goal. He didn't say they didn't deserve it, but he said they got lucky and they scored this goal. And then this controversy about, like, I think the ball hit like someone's arm, like from the body, then the arm or something, or the arm, or etc. But anyway, I gotta watch this goal again. But Havertz scored. I was a little bit pissed off because Havertz, it's such a controversial player. Every time I see, it's not on purpose. I'm not a hater. But every time I watch Arsenal and I watch Havertz's performance, he's always doing some it's almost sneaky shit. It's almost like he's like this poster boy for the dark arts Arsenal. It's like if you remove him from the squad, maybe they become less evil, sort of, in that parameter, because he contributes to that so much. Like, he's such an annoying person judging from his performance, because that time when they played I think it was already knockout stage, and they played against this German team like that he used to play for, or maybe it was this league stage. But anyway, they went to Germany and he played against his ex team, and he scored against them, and he like didn't even like. It felt like he doesn't even like that his German team, his home team. I don't know. He makes an impression of a really like nasty individual, like annoying person for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and he's like amazing guy and great brother, son, maybe father, teammate, etc. I don't know. So he scored that goal. Good strike. We gotta cut him some slack. That was a great strike. Keeper Safonov, I mean, was he able to stop the shot? I'm not really sure, because the trajectory was kind of mad. The only way he could have stopped it if he closed the distance and really just jumped. But in this case, like, Havertz could have just like shoot the ball in a different angle or different way. So I don't really know. This is a nasty trajectory, and actually I kind of enjoy goals that are scored like this, because it feels like if you put a lot of power on this shot, like, it will be a goal. Like, if you hit it, if it will be not over the post, obviously over the bar, sorry. In this case, yeah, if you place it in the right way and if you put enough power on this shot, it's a goal. Like, I mean, there can be no conversation. It will be a goal, because this is a trajectory that, especially the keeper doesn't really expect this. Imagine like it's just like it goes like it's quick, like a bullet or something like, and you cannot even react, like to raise your arms or to kind of like stop it, block shot it, whatever. Anyway, that was a good strike, and after that, surprise, the game became so fucking boring. Excuse my language, but Arsenal, they were just defending, like 2 lines of defense, I think 6 back line, 6 players, then 4 probably the second line, and that's it. They were just like they were defending this whole time. I'm not sure that if PSG even had any dangerous moments. I don't think so, actually. It was just dry first half of this game, the remaining part of it after the goal. And maybe PSG were trying to find something there, but they were unlucky, because every time a dangerous player, PSG attack player like Dembele or Kvara or like Douye, every time they got the ball, they were tackled by like 3 players or something like this. Like 3 Arsenal defenders were just like closing in on them, and they weren't able even like to move the ball, to pass it, to find like a opportunity to shoot the ball. So it was like that, and that was the game, because Arsenal, they weren't like desperate to score another goal. That's something that is very characteristic to this Arsenal side. They're not searching for the second goal. They're pretty happy just sitting back and defending their lead. But it's the same issue that I had with Amorim and with his style of play. He was also defending 1-0, and even if you have an amazing defense like Arsenal, and even if your whole like shtick, if your whole thing of your team is defending, actually, right? Even considering this, you still can concede a goal. You still can concede a goal, and what are you going to do after that? What if you were defending for so long and you got so comfortable defending the ball, you don't even have this like energy to go and find another goal? So I don't really understand this. It's like, it's so weird. It's like you have to have a really very kind of like remote control team like, in order to just slow the game down when you're defending and when you're defending this lead. And then when you, like, let's say they equalize, their position equalizes, and then you just gotta go, you gotta go attack and find another goal, and then you sit back again. Like, I think it's very unnatural. It's almost sometimes impossible to do this on demand. Usually by watching football, when team starts, when they're searching for a goal, they're chasing a goal, usually it takes some time. It takes a couple of moments. Depends on the executors, depends on the talent that you have in your team. Obviously, some players, they just need one moment, right? Some people, they have maybe one chance, and they will realize it, and they will actually score that chance. But it usually takes some time to, like PSG in the second half, for example, the goal didn't come like first minute of the second half. They were slowly coming closer and closer and closer, and then eventually they sped up their passing. It was 1-2 on the left wing, I think. Kvara was entering the box, and Arsenal defender. Okay, a break time because we have a revving engine. Let's just like continue. So basically, that's what happened, right? So PSG found that goal. Kvara, he was approaching he entered the box, right? He was approaching the goal, and he was looking for a shot, and he got fouled by Arsenal defender, and it was absolutely a penalty, but for some reason they wanted to check it. Like, I don't understand what they were exactly checking, because it was such a blatant penalty, because they're sped up the game, and their players, they have so much quality, so much talent. If you speed up passing, if you speed up your play, eventually they will have to foul, because it's just too technical. The players are just too good. So it is what it is. So yeah, and basically they scored the penalty. Dembele, I think, scored the penalty, and then something that surprised me, because there was another chance, like Kvara had a second chance, but he hit the post because the keeper, I think, deflected it, or someone, maybe defender. So anyway, so yeah, and he just had a second chance. He hit the post, and basically it was a really dangerous moment. And after that, Luis Enrique, he just took off Kvara and Dembele. And Dewey, I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Dewey left, was still on the pitch, but basically he subbed off his main two attacking threats, and it was so like casual for him. It didn't feel like he was like waiting until the last moment to keep them on a pitch. No, he just let him exit the game, and he brought Barcola, he brought Gonzalo Ramos, right, and someone else probably, but his name escapes my mind right now, my memory. So anyway, and they continued playing, like, and they didn't look so bad. Like PSG, they were trying to find another goal. I couldn't even tell you that Arsenal were trying to do the same. Like, I don't even remember Arsenal after that goal that they scored, penalty. I mean, PSG, when they equalized the score, I don't even remember what Arsenal were doing on the pitch. Like, I remember that they were on the pitch. Obviously, the players were still there, and they were like running and like passing, etc. But Arsenal, they chose such a weird tactic for this game. Like, they diminished themselves completely. Like, they castrated themselves basically completely, and it's their own fault, because the attack that they have, it has quality. I don't think anyone will deny that Arsenal attack, it actually has. It was like their own decision. Like, they self-destructed basically. They forgot the fact that they have a great attack because they wanted to defend that minimal like lead. And because of that, Gyökeres was on the bench, right? Some other players were on the bench. I didn't even I don't even know what the squad was. What was Arsenal's 11, to be honest? So I cannot really tell you it was more attacking or more defensive. But the point that I'm making, like, just watching their performance, they really didn't want to score second or third or fourth. They were defending 1-0 lead in the final of Champions League, and they were an experienced team in the finals of Champions League. It was their first final in how many years? So I don't really understand this plan. It's so ambitious. It's borderline delusional plan. I don't get it, honestly. Anyway, So yeah, and then we had extra time, and in extra time I feel like players were either tired or they were already kind of like just trying not to, both teams were trying not to risk, because they were ready for penalties. Maybe that was the point, but I don't remember anything specific or significant in those extra halves. And then we go to penalties, and I mean, Raya, I have no I'm not gonna lie to myself, of course it's a good keeper, but at the end of the day, it was Arsenal's players who weren't able to place the ball inside a goal, basically, right? So they weren't able to find the net, like two of their players, if I'm not mistaken. And the last one, the pressure was on the defender, on Gabriel, and he didn't deliver. And it felt like they're either feeling too much pressure or they're like sort of lightheaded, Arsenal, I mean, because Gabriel, when he was preparing to shoot the ball, like to strike the ball, let's call it like this, when he was preparing to strike the ball, the camera closed up on his face, and first, when I was watching it first time, I thought that he's doing this like this, you know, like borderline comedic, like this preparation, like with his eyebrows, like, okay, let's see what's happening. And I was like, in the moment I thought, like, are you stupid? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? And then he missed it, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Arsenal lost to PSG, it makes so much sense. There was no surprises after that, and I was like, yeah, that makes total sense. Good luck, good job, PSG. Good luck, Arsenal, next season. Hopefully when the other teams, other OG top 4 teams will stabilize themselves. Good luck to Arsenal, man, because honestly this team is so frustrating. I think this team can definitely win when there's no competition in the league. When there is the least amount of competition, I think this team will maybe win, maybe they will actually lift the trophy, because it didn't feel like I told it already, and maybe now we kind of closing into this second point that I had on my list. It's like the season assessment of Arsenal, and also how it affects and what does it say about English Premier League in general. And I think that it's very frustrating, because frustrating season, because a lot of teams, they just dipped, or they couldn't find weren't able to find their style or their results or stability, etc. So it was like it was shaky, rocky season for a lot of teams. For Arsenal, it was like type of season that was smooth for them. However, like I said before, their performance and their style of play, I don't think, if they will not tweak anything, I don't think it will succeed in next seasons. I think they will not drop their position. I don't think they will be like 10th or something like this. They will be top 5, top 4, obviously, but I don't see how they can, like, what they can do to convince me that they deserve the title again. And and Champions League also, because at the end of the day, it's the football that you play, and it's very difficult to play very like cautious and cowardly style of football with a game plan that doesn't really benefit or involves any attacking actions and any type of risks. It's so difficult to just like win games consistently, consecutively, and dominate the games. And I feel like that's how you're supposed to win. You got to be convincing, you got to be strong, and you got to have those goals. You got to score those goals. Like, you cannot defend 1-0 and call yourself like a proud champion, like well-deserved champion, because so many things has to fall into your favor for you to be able to actually finish this game 1-0 and defend this minimal lead till the end till the final whistle. Anyway, so what does it say about EPL? I don't know. Still, I think it's their product that they're selling. Okay, got to change location. definitely got to change location. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
On the ground. Yes, we did. We switched the plate. There were things that I saw when he got the revving job. So 4 games, super impressed. I'm like, if you can give me that, I'm all in.
Imagine any of the other managers did the job that Carrick did.
Bro, here is why Manchester United want Rafael Leao.
I don't believe in United.
We don't.
Because of winning. Manchester United. I wasn't even
I mean, bro, I'm preparing to record the second part of the my podcast, and I testing the microphone and the video, and Nuruddin on Straight Jacket again talking about the history of Manchester United, how it was for working class club for working class people, and it's like exciting football for working class people. It's like, oh my god, bro, thank you for this information. All right, so we back. Change the location. Okay, so let's try to pick up where we left off. The funniest thing is that as soon as I got up and turned off the camera, that guy in the garage with the motorcycle, he just left. He closed the garage and left. So there was no noise anymore. But anyway, I think I was already also super hungry, so I couldn't just continue. I had to go home and had some lunch or / dinner or something, like a snack or anything. Okay, so we back, and I'm ready to continue now talking. Even though while I was eating, I caught a little bit of Straight Jacket podcast, and already had more points to talk about. But anyway, let's start with this. I think I wrapped the UCL final. Like, I think I said everything that I wanted to say about it. And then we were talking about Arsenal's season, and just purely because they're the champions, right? Maybe funny enough, but even though they won the title, a domestic title, I don't think they will be the most talked team this summer. I'm definitely still waiting on their fans to be more like, out there. Like, I was thinking that, okay, so Arsenal will win the title. I will see a lot of Arsenal supporters outside, like people rocking Arsenal shorts and stuff. Haven't seen that still. But there are bare people wearing PSG shirts, and also, Barca shorts and stuff. It's very funny. So the funniest thing is that Arsenal, for some reason, maybe in London, I don't know, maybe in London it's like, it's all just red. Like, there are just like mad people just wearing Arsenal shorts and just like being like, I don't know, celebrating. But it feels like no one is really talking about Arsenal. Like, I don't know, maybe just from my perspective, because I'm not an Arsenal fan. So, but especially after they lost this European title, I don't think there will be a topic of conversation. And I think it will be just, like a line in record books, like in statistics. I mean, like record books, I'm not talking about like Guinness or something, but just like in, in a log, it will be just like season 25-26, champions Arsenal. And that's it. So I'm not really sure what does it mean culturally. And what does it mean? Like, is there a big higher meaning to this? In the last show, I think I was last time I was talking about what are the good things, like the kind of like upsides that we can take from this Arsenal victory. And I was mentioning that, yeah, definitely it's a story about like pushing, right? Keep pushing, keep trying, and persevering in the end. So maybe it's a story about that, right? Because they didn't change their coach. They kind of doubled down. They did this summer where they signed plenty of players actually from other leagues and also from Premier League, and they won. I mean, they won the title eventually. And this is the perspective if you want to look for positives in this Arsenal victory. If you are definitely looking like with a magnifying glass, if you just with a metal detector, you're looking for those, positives. Because genuinely, the style of football, of course, that they played and how they were winning their games, and the lack of competition this season that was in the league. And so relatively easy way to the final of UCL because they were playing Sporting and Atletico Madrid. They didn't play Barcelona. They didn't play Bayern Munich. And I say it was not the most difficult path for them to reach that final. And when they finally when they faced a team that was able to match them, not only to match them, PSG, in my view, of course, it is a better team. It's more balanced, and they definitely are not trying to. I haven't seen a PSG game, where they were trying to defend 1-0 scoreline in their favor. I just haven't seen those games. Maybe they exist. And what does it mean? What does it say about Premier League? The fact that the champion this season is Arsenal, who are playing this type of football. I think, unfortunately, it's not really that important to the FA and to the officials and to people who are founders of this competition, because just it felt like this season the MO, it was just let's stop City low-key. Not like I'm not gonna fuel this conspiracy or whatever, but it felt like just, what, I don't have any evidence, but the fact that the pundits were mentioning the fact that they don't want City to win the title this season, it's a fact. Because yes, a lot of ex-players and pundits, they were blatantly supporting Arsenal, and they were saying, I hope Arsenal will win. And they never explained why. So you can only guess, and that's my guess, that City, for some reason, it was they are not Premier League favorites anymore, probably because of the charges. So considering the lack of competition, it is what it is. I think that's how I'm gonna sum it up. I don't know, if you look across other leagues, they have other problems, right? So Bundesliga has a Munich problem. They're winning almost every year, right? So it's like, if there is a team that wins Bundesliga, they rarely can follow up with a second title next season, and because Bayern just will be there always. Similar things, I think, in France, at the moment at least. Kind of similar thing in Spain, where you have Real or Barcelona, and I'm sorry, but those are the two clubs that you expect to win the La Liga. I mean, season in, season out. And what else do we have? I cannot mention Portuguese league. I'm sorry, because after Amorim, I think it's obvious that there are levels. And the fact that if a coach wins Portuguese league, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will be able to win the Premier League, or for that matter, any other league of those. So Germany, similar thing with Eredivisie, right? So So Premier League, this is definitely still a very exciting league, and I think it's pretty easy to sell it as a product. I think commercially it is still a very attractive product. for consumption and for distribution, and also just, I don't think it will. The fact that Arsenal played this type of football and achieved this, I don't think it will be looked at as if it's like a beginning of some kind of dynasty or beginning of a shift or something. I don't think Arsenal will be able to sustain this success because the competition will eventually sort itself out and they will manage the mess that's going on in all those clubs respectively. And it will be a race, a tough race, tough competitive race again. And Arsenal, what can they do? They can strengthen their squad and use this kind of confidence from winning the title, convert it somehow into the next season. But in my opinion, this type of football is not sustainable itself. So it's very difficult to build on that because it just doesn't make any sense. I think it's super high risk type of football that Arsenal is playing. You can say it's adaptable, but at the same time, if you are just defending one goal advantage, it's like you're sitting on a crate of dynamite, low key. It's like a matter of time when it's going to blow up, and it's a big success. It's a big miracle. You're super lucky if it doesn't go off, and you just like, oh, I'm safe, So you kind of win 1-0, regardless of what type of defense you have, because the type of league, English league, is and the style that they play there, and the fact that you have to change your style to play in Europe, and yeah, it's just like, I don't know about that, because English teams, I hopefully next season they will go at Arsenal, because some of the teams this season definitely they were letting them have their way. Basically, I haven't seen a lot of real sort of not resistance, but real sort of, no one really gave them like a proper match, a proper game, or like a battle or something. Arsenal, in a lot of games, they just already started as favorites and had very little issues with the opposition. So yeah, I don't think it will mark any type of shift in English Premier League. I think it's just low key an anomaly, and it's just like, yeah, Arsenal finally they got their title, but it's very difficult. Already, a lot of fans are talking about Arsenal blueprint. In any type of podcast or show that I'm watching, there will be comments from viewers that it's like, oh, it's like it took 7 years for Teta to win this. Like, for example, if the conversation is about changing coaches or changing projects, so the argument, the comment will be like, well, it's like you're Russian because look at Arsenal. They gave him 7 years and he delivered. I don't want it ever to be a sort of like example for Manchester United, for example. For other teams, I mean, yeah, sure. If they want to follow this in this way, manner after Arsenal, be my guest. But yeah, it's like, and not a lot of teams can copy this pattern, blueprint, because they spend a lot of money also. And the coach that they have, he's not some just, low paid, like debutant, like cheap coach or something, right? So Arteta is, I don't know how is his salary, but you can say that he's not like a championship manager, right? Because he played in the Premier League, he played in Champions League as a player. Okay, so and he was assistant coach to Pep Guardiola. So it's like, yeah, he's not just some kind of nobody, in football world. So to copy Arsenal's blueprint, you already have to be like a certain level of club. That's first point. And a second point, just from the perspective of the type of football that they play, it's so high risk. Like I told you before, who would who in their right mind would want to copy that, because it's so difficult to do. Okay, so next topic, let's talk about what's happening with Manchester United transfers. So basically, the situation is next. Ederson, it looks like he's going to be the first signing, because this whole time the rumors were circulating and it was more like hot than cold. Different numbers, 35, 40 million. But at the end of the day, it feels like I hope that it is, and it feels like a beginning of the transfer campaign. Why we signing this player first? Probably because he's the easiest one to get, and the situation with his buyout clause, I think it's the most clear and transparent. Also, we've done business with Atalanta before. There was no issue with that, so they're willing, more than willing, I'm sure, to sell to us, and they will not, drag this. Player is not in taking part in World Cup with Brazil. So basically, I think he's going to be our first signing. Let's see how it's going to turn out, play out, I guess. I think that he's a squad player. Someone made this point before, that his salary, his price tag, and kind of tells you that he's going to be a squad player, probably, right? Of course, we still have issues and very strange dynamic with salaries in the club, because we have some players who are getting a lot of, let's say not a lot of money, but that are paid equal, but those are squad players and starters. So I'm pretty sure that the wages that Beaumont has, and Cunha and Mount, for example, they're probably similar wages, maybe Mount even on a bigger money. So someone was saying that Mount is on 250, but I think I checked it and it's like 150, because imagine if it's 250, it's insanity. Like in this case, it's, come on, guys. Let's double check, because now I actually have internet and computer here. So Mason Mount per week salary, let's see. Pocket watching. Mount currently earns between 150 to 250 per week, depending on bonuses at his club Champions League qualification. Okay, so if we are in the Champions League next season, that probably is going to be 250, right? I think it's insanity, in my opinion, because Mount never actually delivered. We've never saw that Mason Mount, the Champions League winner, Chelsea era Mount. So I don't know about this. I think something should be done about this eventually. Let's see when his contract ends. Contract expiry, Mount 28. So 2 years still he has on his contract. I don't know, no comments, right? But just let me state this openly, that we have this balance in our wage structure still. There are major improvements, but as long as we have players who are not really participating in the season actively and in team, not contributing to performance of the team, and as long as they earn more money than the players who are like in the starters every game, there will be a problem eventually that will require some sort of solution. So Ederson, first signing, we can probably say that he will be a Manchester United player in the next, maybe, I don't know, in the following days. How they trying to in which order they're trying to build this summer. It's difficult to say. There were some news and some information about the sort of the resources, financial resources that, or the like war chest, how some people say, how much can we spend this summer? And the numbers, they looked good, I think, objectively. I think it will be enough to just reshape the midfield. I mean, I already done video about our targets. Let's see how it's going to play out. Let's see who will be playing and where in Manchester United short in August. Okay, so what else do we have? I mean, we got to talk about Rashford and Barcelona and this relationship, very strange relationship that he has with Barcelona, and also about Anthony Gordon. We have to speak about it. This is kind of weird triangle because Barca, I think they wanted to sign Rashi when it was early spring. There was a lot of noise around Rashford and Barca, and they were saying that, yeah, definitely they're going to activate this option, the buyout. They're going to take him long term, permanently. But when they got knocked out of Champions League, something shifted, from what I understand, maybe even before that. And it was clear. I was also watching some Barca games when Rashford was on the pitch, when he was not. And I can definitely say that Barca, I mean, let me talk about the situation first, and then I'll give you my sort of take. So basically, there was a huge noise around Barcelona Rashford that he's going to be a full-time, like permanent player for Barca next season, and they're ready to buy him. 30 mil was the price tag, I think. And everything was very optimistic and very positive. Then something happened, right? And this information kind of not slowed down, but there were less and less optimism and positivity around this potential deal. And then eventually the rumors or the news leaked that they're unhappy with Rashi and they're not going to be signing him full time. And then obviously they won the title, they celebrated. Rashi scored a free kick in El Clasico. And then the news broke out that they signed Anthony Gordon. It was super fast. He flew on a private jet, I think, to Barcelona, signed the deal, gave a press conference, spoke Spanish, and that's it. I don't know what will be his number on the shirt, but he's a Barca player. I thought at first I thought it was AI that he's speaking Spanish. It's like definitely AI. But then later I understood that no, it seems like his press conference and he was speaking Spanish. And it is what it is. That's it. He's Barca player. Next season he's going to be playing in that shirt. What does it mean for Rashi? First of all, it's a little bit embarrassing because they were saying that they had no money, and but the price tag was 30 mil, and Anthony Gordon, it's at least double that price that they paid for him. And the question is like, so you say there was no money, but wait a second, you just signed Gordon for double the price? I think personally, maybe they were saying that there is no money because they were unsure, right? And being indirect maybe in their explanation. Maybe it was a rumor altogether, and the real communication never mentioned that. We will never know what was the real deal, like what type of explanation and which type of words were used in the actual correspondence between those two clubs, right? In official kind of like correspondence and letters, emails, whatever, maybe phone calls. So we as fans just know that allegedly Barca were broke. right, are broke still, and they weren't able to sign Rashford for 30 mil, and now they signed Gordon for double the price. Well, I think the thing here actually is that they signed Rashford. People say that he sort of forced this move. And genuinely, I don't know who's behind Rashford. I don't know people who he knows, right? And how the player can force a move to Barcelona. For me, it's a little bit like it's a question mark. I don't understand how it happens. It's like he manifested, he just woke up and said, like, you know what? I want to be cooler. I want to I want to be cooler and I want to be a cooler, and to be cooler. So, and then he went to Barca to play with Yamal and Rafinha, right? And Lewandowski. I don't know how, if you know how it's possible, and if you know any such examples when player just forces his move to a club, please let me know, because for me it's like a mystery how it can be real. Anyway, he achieved his target. He went to Barcelona. He played for Barcelona. He scored goals. He assisted. Played in Champions League. Won a title. Won La Liga with Barcelona. But apparently they don't want him full time. And what's the reason behind it? Is it just about the money? No. We understand now it's an excuse. It was an excuse. I think the real reason is that observing Rashford and his style of play, even when he was at Manchester United, even in a season where he scored 30 goals with Ten Hag, this guy, he's not, let's say, super interested or invested in defensive side of the game, right? He definitely wants to attack. He knows how to attack. He can whip across. He can shoot. He can strike. But at the same time, how many times have you seen Rashford press, like, consistently throughout his all minutes when he's on the pitch? I haven't. I think he's. I don't know him personally, but he gives this vibe like of a big shot, like a star player, sort of, like a star boy. But the issue is that, let's say when Mbappe has this type of attitude, right? I don't think anyone would question this. I think people can like Mbappe or dislike him, but I don't think anyone will question his status, maybe his self-proclaimed status. But in case of Mbappe, I don't think it's self-proclaimed. It is just the fact that he's a star boy, right? He's like a center of attention. He's a star player. And I don't think anyone will question that. But with Rashford, the problem is that you can actually question it. And it will be a legitimate questioning, It will be like, I'm sorry, Rashi, but consistently you haven't been on the same level as, let's say, top European players, top world players. We know Manchester United fans, we love Rashford, of course, because he's our guy, right? He's an academy graduate. He scored a lot of goals for Manchester United. He played a lot of games. Come on. You know who Rashford is, right? For Manchester United. So we will love him regardless, like Manchester United fans. Those who are, let's say, not biased, right? And who, let's say, because some fans, they hate Rashford. But the reality is that we can love the player, but also be fair, right? About his performances. And I think it was clear that partially the reason for his dip in form and performances, it was obviously the instability in terms of the project and the club's direction, right? Because we were, like the title of my previous show, all over the place. Changing managers almost every season, changing projects, buying players for the managers that then end up leaving the club. And that's the issue. And Rashford mentioned it, and I think it's a legit claim. When you have this balance and instability in at your workplace, it takes a certain character. It takes a certain person, and to self-motivate and to just play because you want to be the best, or you feel like you will outlive this instability, right? Or you will sort of fix it, maybe even yourself, like hero complex type shit. And I think Rashford, he's not that type of player. I don't think he's a leader. I think he can be an example in certain aspects of his performances and in certain aspects of his just other things that he's doing, right? I'm talking about his charity work and the fact that people know him in England, and he is known in England in general and in the world maybe for this type of initiatives, right? I think it's very admirable. However, we have to, until he's a player, football player, active football player, we will judge him based on his performances on the pitch. And I think it's clear to say that he lost his form, right? And he's the type of player who will only deliver when he feels like his workplace is stable and it's positive, like there's a positive energy in the workplace. In this case, I think he will perform. Like Barca, you can say that there is an element of toxicity there in terms of this competition with Real and their sort of victim complex of Barcelona that they have in their, like, it's part of their lore and their ethos. But you can definitely say that there is a good vibe, let's say, at Barcelona, and there is a camaraderie, and at least they understand what type of football they want to play, right? And they don't flip-flop and they don't change projects. It's the Barcelona type of football, right? Because their academy defines their playing style, and everything just makes sense in Barcelona. Barcelona you will never mistake Barcelona for Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid. It always will be Barcelona, right? So that's how it's been, even when they weren't winning the titles in those years. And Rashford, I wouldn't say he thrived, but he performed on a good level, right? He has goals and assists this season for Barca. And he was a squad player, right? So that's the status of Rashford at the moment. So let's say it's unclear where he's going next, right? Some people, I saw some photos of him, AI generated, in Arsenal shirt. Will he go to Arsenal? First of all, I wanted to say that I will never trash Rashford or hate on him, even if he goes to Arsenal. It's his choice. As a Manchester United fan, I won't be hurt that he, let's say, went to Arsenal. I won't be happy, right? I think I will be just sort of indifferent, low-key. But it doesn't mean that Rashford is like I don't know, like made a wrong choice, for example, right? If he goes to Arsenal. Another question: can he be useful for Manchester United? I think the answer is yes. And the question is, can he see himself in Manchester United after everything, right, that happened? That's another big question, because from what I understand from Rashford, like subliminal style of storytelling on Instagram, there is definitely some level of tension between him and the club. I'm not sure exactly who's at the club, and are those people still at the club with whom he feels this tension. But we have to also admit that the relationship between players and the atmosphere in the dressing room, it improved. It is much better than it was when Amorim was the coach, right? Maybe it was Amorim who didn't want Rashford in the squad, because for the same reasons as Hansi Flick, for example, doesn't want him in the squad, because he cannot perform. He cannot be motivated enough and like driven enough and hungry enough to press, right? Not to lose the ball and to press every time he loses the ball and every time his teammates lose the ball. There is definitely no hunger to Rashford's style of play currently, unlike when he started, when he debuted for Manchester United in those first couple of years for Manchester United. I would say even until Oli, he was still hungry when Oli was coaching. He was still like playing really. It felt like he just loved football and he was like going for it. Then something changed. Maybe all those things that we mentioned. Maybe he just outgrew football, like in terms of not in arrogant, egotistical way, but maybe genuinely as a human being. Maybe he doesn't love football as much as he used to. I don't know. It happens, right? I mean, it's just like you have to also consider that those things we will never know because there is no interview, no sources, and he didn't write any books or anything explaining the situation, and we can only guess. It's like gambling, basically. So it doesn't make sense. So the outcomes, the potential outcomes is that he goes to a rival club, which will be definitely not a best scenario just based on competition, right? It's like, why would we give a player like Rashford who can bag like 15, 30 GA, like 15 goals, 15 assists, right? Why would we strengthen our competitors or any club in England by giving them this player? But can he go back to Manchester United and be humble enough not to cause any disruption and just accept the shirt number that he will be given, because he's not getting number 10 because it's Cunha's, and can he be humble enough to just be a squad player after everything for Manchester United? That's the bigger question, I think, because I'm not really sure that anyone at the club like hates him, like deeply hates him and doesn't want to see him at the club again. I don't think it's like a situation like Ferguson, Roy Keane, for example, when it's just like he's leaving the club and trashing the club for like years and years and years and years, and there is still animosity, So I don't think it's that deep with Rashford and Manchester United. I think it's just because he felt like he is underappreciated just purely because it was a ruckus at the club and it was like dark days because of the instability and because of no one knew what's going to happen to the club next year, meaning like direction wise. And he felt like he's a victim of that, Maybe that's how he felt. Because also he was given a huge contract. And he was like a centerpiece of this club, and then I don't know. Then different coaches come and they maybe don't see him as that centerpiece, and maybe club officials in conversations with the head coach, they don't present Rashford as a centerpiece of. So maybe something like this happened. Anyway, we can only guess. I don't want to go too deep into that situation, but the fact is that maybe he stays at Barcelona. I don't know. Maybe they eventually pay this price tag. Maybe they negotiate. I don't think that Manchester United need any of players that Barcelona was offering us. I mean, I would take Pedri, but some people say that Pedri will never, like Vitinha, will never be successful at English Premier League. I think it's bullshit because we have examples of Bernardo Silva, for example, who was successful in Premier League. And you can say that he's the same type of build as Pedri, or physically at least, or Vitinha. I think it's exaggeration. I don't think there is a player like based on physique and build. I don't think there is a player who's not able to perform in English football. I think it's just about your willingness to adapt and your skills. I don't think it's about your height or about your build or about how your body weight or like whatever. I think it's not about that. Even though the league is very physical and very athletic, and it's even becoming more and more like that. Okay, so Rashford future right now, it's unclear, right? So maybe he stays at Barca, and very unlikely. He goes to Arsenal, who knows? Maybe he goes back to Manchester United. Maybe Carrick can actually, find they can find understanding. I'm sure they can find an understanding, and he will be very helpful, because there are conversations about bringing in a striker or a player who will be in the attack group. And I think the option that is like least draining in terms of resources, even though his salary is crazy, Rashford's salary, he can definitely be that player that we're looking for. Because like we're not looking for a main striker. I think we're looking for a rotation type player. And the fact that his stats at Barca this season, if you just like, convert this to Manchester United next season, I think it's very good. I wouldn't say no to that, because he's already played for Manchester United. He's our academy product, and I don't have any issues. I have some frustration with his performances when things were not going well at the club, and for him also. But I hope that it was just because of this weird situation, atmosphere that was off, obviously, and everyone felt that. Okay, so also this week is a pre-World Cup week. So today is the 1st of June. It's the first day of summer. And in 10 days, I think we're going to witness this tournament. What does it mean? It means that this week there will be friendlies. Brazil already played Panama, I think, in 6-2. Casemiro scored a header. I think it was offside, though. But Mateus Cunha scored an own goal, which for some reason they wrote it as an own goal, but it was just a deflection after a free kick, I think. Is it an own goal? Like it was his intention to? I think it's too harsh on the scoreboards. Like Igor Thiago scored a penalty, I think, and it felt like him and Ancelotti, they have some kind of connection, because after scoring a goal, he went to Ancelotti, and it felt like it's some kind of meaningful hug or meaningful interaction between them. I wonder what's going on between these two people. Okay, so what else does it mean? It means that some business will be done, obviously, before 11th of June, because like we already discussed, right now, even though players are already at their camps, the agents, they can do negotiations, and maybe some of them have green light from their clients, right, to just finalize the deal. However, still, I think it's possible to, let's say, bring in player for a medical if they're already in the camp preparing for World Cup, right? So maybe you can strike a deal and do all these procedures after the World Cup, but then again, it's like after the World Cup, before the World Cup, after the World Cup, maybe the situation will change for some players. Maybe some players will get injured. Maybe some players will have very bad tournament and the price will drop, for example, right? So it's hard to say which clubs will go for these deals now before the 11th, because how the deal gets done, right? First, you gotta negotiate with about the personal terms with the player, then with the club, and then you ask player to go through a medical, and then you sort of like, can you do remote medical somewhere else at somewhere else facility? I don't know. Usually, players fly to the cities where the clubs are situated, and they go through a medical there. So I don't know how it's gonna play out, but definitely we're gonna see some links, some new rumors, maybe some deals. Manchester United, for example, they can do business regardless of World Cup, because our targets, most of them, are not with their national teams, or not even their countries, not even playing at the World Cup, like Sandro Tonali, for example. Okay, so what else is happening? What about, I have this bullet here in the notes, manager music chairs. And I don't know how it's called, musical chairs or music chairs, but you get the idea, right? It's like this game when there is one chair and people are like circulating, they move in circles around the chair, and the music, when the music is playing and when the music stops, someone has to sit. And it's like, whoever sits, they are kind of like the winner. And in England, it looks like after Liverpool made this call and they fired Arne Slot. It feels like a couple of weeks late, in my opinion, because if I were working for Liverpool and if I was making decisions, I would definitely sack Slot ASAP and invite Alonso, just because two of the leaders of his previous teams are already there at the club, and Alonso was playing not just for 1 or 2 seasons for Liverpool. He was there. And he's not a club legend like Gerrard, but still he's a well-known player amongst Liverpool fans. And the fact that I'm not a Liverpool fan, I'm a Manchester United fan, and I still know, and I can highlight Alonso as a player for Liverpool, kind of tells you something, right? So I don't know who was making that decision and why they waited for so long, and why they couldn't just fire Slot earlier, but they finally did it. And people saying that Iraola, from Bournemouth, I think, right? He's taken his spot. Well, already, I mean, I'm watching Nureddin from United Real Therapy when there is Stray Jacket podcast or when there is Mandem Talk, like on Said channel, and this is the guy who wanted Iraola, right? So and it's always interesting to hear what are the arguments, right? Like what person is saying, like how can they support their opinion or their, let's say in this case, desire for this coach. And honestly, these links were happening, this conversation were happening when Carrick was already sort of on the verge of signing a full-time contract with Manchester United, which elevates him from his interim position. And I just don't understand this logic that it's like you see a coach who's like managing a lower tier team in the league, and then you just like how they play, right? And you like this team style, and this football is like, it's something that you like to see. And then you kind of like want this manager to come to a bigger club, to an A-tier club, and implement the same things at A-tier club. Because what about those factors as like there is a different dressing room, players are different, players with higher salaries, players who played in different tournaments and who won silverware, players with bigger egos, let's say, players who are, let's say, more difficult to negotiate with or to, find a common understanding. Also, there are different budgets. There is a different scale, right? Different pressure. How many fans Manchester United? Check how many followers they have on IG, right? And check how many followers like Liverpool or City or Arsenal has. Also, in comparison, because Manchester United is a huge club, so the pressure is immense. Not only from the board, who, let's say, some people, same person that I already named, right? He was saying that, I mean, he has this agenda against the ownership, actually, right? So it's like he's like gold and green. So the point that he's making is that owners are not doing enough. They're not ambitious enough. So even considering that, still at Manchester United there is pressure from the board, because now the structure is different, right? And the people who are overseeing the results and the operations at the club, they're different compared to 3 years ago or 5 or 10 years ago. The amount of fans that are commenting and following the club very closely is huge. So the pressure is huge. So you expect that manager to just like walk from that, let's say, C tier team to A tier team and suddenly just play the same football, become like cool with players, and fulfill expectations of fans and play the same style of football and be comfortable and be chill at that position. I'm sorry, but I just don't see it. I don't think it's realistic to expect that. I mean, you can dream about that. You can think in your head that this is a great option, this is your solution. But realistically, like real life scenario, it's like a huge, I mean, luck and success if this everything will play out like this. And in terms of names of managers, and just in general, in terms of what looks good on paper, I think we got to be very wary of that, because obviously in real life the situation is different, and many times, I mean, a lot of you, I'm sure, have seen that something that looks good on paper, in reality, or something that you think is good, like that looks good in your head, in a reality, just like it takes different shades and colors, right? And takes a completely different form. So with Carrick, for example, you can say that he's less experienced coach. Maybe he's even worse coach, just in terms of skills, tactics, and his under his belt and experience than Iraola, right? So let's say Iraola is superior manager to Carrick. But the fact that Carrick played for this club, right, and he knows the club from a perspective of a player and from a perspective of supporter, and the fact that he kind of like knows what type of football you need to play at Manchester United, right? And he knows how to win trophies also. And he has appreciation for midfield, which for us was a huge problem for many, many years. Maybe sometimes it doesn't really matter the skill that you have, or like the amount of tactics, or the amount of like in-game management that you have, right? Maybe it doesn't matter sometimes when it comes down to just finding common language and common understanding with the players, giving the players the freedom to express themselves, and still being able to assemble a proper staff, like assistant coaches, right? So I think you don't have to be like an amazing manager tactically. You don't have to be a Pep Guardiola to win titles, you know? You just need to have some common understanding and sense and experience and a vision, right? And also you have to have competent people around you. Even if you, for example, you are not yet at that level, maybe you will never be at that level, right? So I think Carrick will never be at the level of Guardiola in terms of tactics, in terms of, right? And he doesn't need to be, because not every coach is Guardiola, right? Not every player is Messi or Neymar or something like this. But still, there are so many amazing players, right? Who even maybe won more things than those, like, players that we consider to be like super gifted, like, and one of a kind. So the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of things there are situational, sort of, right? It's just more about like alignment. So if the things align for this person and for this club and for these players, right, and for the board and for the fans, and you have this like one line that just like trajectory that leads you to a victory and to the trophy, and that's it. It's like who are those pieces of this alignment, right? It's just I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but it's definitely not just only depends on the skill of this person, like, and like on their in-game management, let's say, you know. It's just one of those components. The in-game manager, the head coach can lack in-game management, but if he can be smart enough to trust, to first of all hire a staff member who's savvy in those things, and if he's humble enough and smart enough to take advice from that person who's more intelligent or more educated in this aspect, so like, and still you make the same decision, right? So it's like you, let's say you make this substitution at this minute that gives you like a boost in game and like wins you a game, right? So does it really matter who this decision came from a head coach or from the assistant manager, or maybe from the player, right? Let's say, like, who gives it down? If it's like one team and they have one goal and they just want to win the game, and if they're like cool with each other, if there is no like toxic weird hierarchy there, like power plays and shit, like, who cares? Okay, so what else can we talk about? Music shares. I mean, Areola, Liverpool, right? Xabi Alonso, it's Chelsea. De Zerbi, Tottenham. Arteta stays at Arsenal. Carrick, full-time manager, Manchester United. And yeah, so that's top four for you right there. I don't know who else will be competing. Honestly, it's hard to say. I don't think Newcastle or Aston Villa will be competing for the title. Brighton, I don't know really. So I think those are the potential competitor, like City, sorry, Maresca, obviously, right? So all those teams, they basically have new coaches, with exception for Arsenal. And some people use this argument to say that Arsenal will just win another one next year. I don't know. Like I said before in the previous part, if the level of if all those clubs that change managers next season, if they will be able to perform at a certain level of stability and increase the level of overall competition in the league, I think Arsenal will struggle. Even if they will sign better players, let's say if they improve their squad this summer, I still think that it's not a given. It's not like an obvious thing that they will win second year, I think. And it looks like that's it. So let me take a break, and I'll see what's happening with the video, how many minutes we have, and maybe I'll do like an encore after this. Yeah, so it's like 56 minutes, I think. Plus half an hour of a video that I made outside, so that's like hour and a half already, which more than previous week, which is more than previous week. So basically, that's a wrap right there. So the channel name will be and is Luxball, which is LYX ball, Luxball. So it's Luxball, and ball is life, obviously, right? So Luxball, because ball is life. That's like something that I just wanted to say. What else do we have? Like an encore point. After watching Straight Jacket and after hearing like Nuruddin and Saeed and Mina, just I wouldn't say it's a shouting match. They just always like maybe just for the sake of the entertainment. Maybe I'm too calculated and analytical. Maybe it's just the vibe of the show. But they argue sometimes. I don't think it's a bad arguments. It's just they argue and stuff about certain points because they have their own opinions, all of them. And something that they were mentioning. Criticism of Carrick, right? So what is the criticism of Carrick? Because my point that I just provided earlier is that it's all about an alignment, right? So things have to align to give you this sort of like something special and something not unique, but something right. It does not mean that all of those components of this alignment have to be like 100%, like all of them have to be like exceptional or just like one of a kind geniuses or something like this, right? No, you have to also have like, you cannot have team full midfield of Edersons, right? But at the same time, you can have full midfield like of, I don't know, Pogba's or something like this, or Zidane's, right? It just doesn't work like this. You have certain different players for different reasons. You have some players who are like superstars and star boys, and you have players who are able to do the dirty work, right? You have the piano players, you have the piano pushers or piano carriers. That's the whole point of the whole point of this balance, right? And if we're talking about this alignment, I think it just depends on how it all looks together, like how the whole complete picture looks like. You don't need it to be oversaturated. You don't need it to be high contrast. It has to be like good, right? So it cannot be like pixelated. It cannot be like overblown or something like this. It has to be just the right picture, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to like I don't know, go crazy on this saturation, like I said before already, right? Or color correction or color balance, or I don't know. It's like, no, it just has to be a proper picture, like, and you know what it's like. I think most of people, when they see something that looks good, right, they can say, oh, this is good objectively. And everyone will agree with this. So I think it's more about that, like finding that alignment and finding that perfect balance with individuals, hiring the right talent for this project. That's the bigger, that's the bigger target, rather than just, trying to build something that you just like how it looks somewhere else and trying to copy it, like using the Arsenal blueprint, right? In Manchester United, I think it will be a tragedy. It will be horrible. No one wants that. Uh, you can take certain amount of motivation from Arsenal's triumph in Premier League, right? You can say that, oh shit, they won. Now we got to show them who's real, winners in Premier League. Or for example, they won. Well, they kept on pushing. They were trying. They were, pushing for it, and they finally achieved it. So let's keep pushing, right? So I understand that this is how you can draw some motivation, but no need to copy no blueprints. Okay, we have our own. And Carrick's criticism about inability to make quick subs, right? So this is something that Nuruddin was mentioning on Straight Jacket, and I just wanted to, I don't understand, but I think some people on Mandem Talk, they were already mentioning this, and they were they diffuse, like disarmed this argument low key. They just said that, like, inability to make quick subs, right? So I also noticed it in some of Carrick's game, like after he's like after he arrived and he gave us like those games that were just like bombastic, right? The games became more kind of like boring, maybe sometimes shaky, but still we got the results, right? He still has the most points amongst other coaches from January, from the time of his appointment, which is still the kind of like the thing that a lot of people are mentioning, but I don't think people really think about this like properly, what it means, especially with these players that he had, right? This season. So yeah, and what does mean an ability to make quick subs? Well, we got to look at the squad, right? So first of all, like, what is the substitution in terms of like, what does it mean? Substitutions in football. It means that you have a squad of players. You have you picked as a manager 11, and then you have benchers, right? You have people who are on the bench. Maybe you have people who are in the reserves, but they're not on the bench for this particular game. So to make a substitution, essentially it means to bring a player from the bench to replace the starting player, right? So let's see, like, we got to look at just players who were registered for those games, right? And we got to see what were his options for a quick sub, okay? Because when you're saying he's not making quick subs, well, who is there to sub on exactly, So because in some games, the players that were on the bench, I think everyone would agree, like, don't bring those players. Maybe the Xerxes was the only player who was like, you know what, let him play. But then again, times that when Xerxes, there are some people who just like love Xerxes and who will just protect him regardless. And there are also players, there are pundits and people who will trash Mount, for example, most of the time. Or Luke Shaw, even when he's playing good football, right? Still. So there are biases, and it's okay. However, as a person who just observes this, right, and my bias is Kobe Main, right? I told this before. So I'm unbiased about all those other players, so I can be objective, hopefully, when I'm assessing them. So I can say that Xerxes, in those games where he was brought on, like, the type of player that he is, he's not super physical, okay? He's a good link-up player. He can be... not like the end of the attack, like number 9. He can go a little bit deeper, right? And he can do the link-ups. He can recycle the ball, maybe. He can do those flicks, and he's like a static player. Right? He likes to be with the ball, like, in a certain way. Like, he's not just kind of like, I never seen him like shoot, like strike the ball like with his, like, I don't know, like, I never seen him put the laces through the ball, for example, right? Every time he shoots, he does it like with the side of his foot, for example, right? With the inner side of his foot. He's also a little bit sluggish in his style of play, right? He's a little bit like, it looks like he's lazy, like when he's playing, right? It's just his style. So let's say you chase in the game, right? Because all those subs that were called for, right? Obviously, they were called for the quick subs. People were calling them for them because we were either losing or we were drawing, right? And we wanted to win the game. So these fans were saying like, Carrick, come on, sub this player. I was sometimes feeling like this also. But then when you think about it, because Carrick with this team, right, he knows how players perform at training. He knows exactly what are their fitness level and what are their motivation, energy level, and are they ready? Really, can they bring this energy? Like, when you chase in a game, you chase in a goal, you need to score. Like Xerxes, for example, on that particular day, can he give you that? Like, because maybe he cannot, and we as fans, we just don't know it because we haven't been at the training ground, right? And we maybe haven't spoken to the player. Maybe you can just feel like the vibe is like, you know what, he's not going to do this tonight, right? So all these things that I'm doing, right, I'm trying to kind of prove a point that not prove a point, but present you the point that maybe when you're asking for quick subs, who exactly are you willing to bring on the pitch? Okay, because maybe sometimes those players and this selection, I mean, it will not really elevate our performance or improve our attacking capabilities, let's say, right? Or our attacking options or our attacking drive, whatever you want to call it, momentum. So yeah, that's my point. Let's see when there are more quality players in our squad, okay, when we have midfield options, actually, when we don't have just Ugarte and Mount who's not a specialist, he's not even like a holding midfielder, he's not a box to box. Like, what is Mount, right? I told it before. Mount is like a little bit of everything. That's why Amarin liked him, because the whole concept of Amarin was to plug the holes, right? It's like, oh, today I'm asking this defender to be a number 9. I'm exaggerating, but basically that was Amarim's approach, right? He wanted multifaceted players who are just able to be completely fluid on the pitch and just perform different, roles and play in different positions, which is obviously he was asking for too much, in my opinion. So yeah, when your bench options are Mason Mount and Ugarte every time he starts for us, right, or every time he was playing for us, it's either we lost those games, or we drew those games. He's like anti-mascot for us, right? So, I mean, do you really want to bring him on in those games when you're not sure if he's going to improve it? And Mount, realistically, in majority of his games, he's performed very strange things, right? He's kind of goes missing sometimes. Sometimes he's doing proper things, but most of the times it's like he's hiding in between the lines somewhere, Maybe it's good sometimes, but in a certain game, right? So yeah, and those are the options in the midfield, right? So who exactly are you trying to bring on to improve your performance, let's say? This is a good question. I think people who are criticizing Carrick for his in-game management, and more specifically for his inability to make quick subs, they should look into this. So what are the options exactly? Who were the bench options in those particular games where you felt like it was time to sub someone on, right? And then after you see who were the options, again, manager, he's literally there with the team. Let's say I'm on a couch watching the game, right? Or I'm somewhere watching the game, not exactly on the couch, but I'm watching the game like many miles away from all this stuff, right? So like, who do you think has a better understanding and perspective, and who has clearer, more honest and realistic assessment of those players' not statistics, but of those players, how to say it, capabilities on that specific day, right? When it's the match day. That's a big question. Okay, so that was the encore, I think, encore. And that will be the end of the second podcast, show, whatever you want to call it. So thank you for watching. And next week we'll already be approaching World Cup. Maybe we'll talk about successful deals, finalized deals. Maybe we'll talk about new links. Definitely there will be just some football news. Definitely there's still already like links with other players, like we were linked to Rafael Leao from AC Milan. I hope this will never happen. This deal will never happen because Rafael Leao is such a peculiar player, and it feels like he's a Lukaku type 2 sort of. I don't know. He has this Lukaku energy where he's kind of like chaotic and so reckless, and he feels like he's like somewhere else, like mentally, but he's still running on the pitch and he's doing something. But I don't know. I don't want this player at Man United. Honestly, I remember his performances sometimes for Portugal, and I'm not sure about this. I don't think we need this player right now desperately, and I think we're gonna be just cool without him. And Sandy Laments also. There is someone saying here. I'm already going through my a laptop, and I see that someone says 18.2 million was such a bargain for Sandy Laments. Transfer of the season by Premier League. He was named. I think, yeah, this guy, come on. I talked already about him. Part of this makeover, it's totally on him. You know, the fact that we were able to just like bring so much stability and confidence to our defense and stop conceding so many goals. It's definitely he's one of major contributors to that. It is what it is. Okay, maybe we'll also talk about kits, about some of the new kits that were released, and maybe some Reddit. Finally, I'll find a way to just incorporate Reddit into this podcast. I don't know. I need maybe a different setup where I'm able to just, share my screen and just go through the Reddit comments and just also do the webcam so you can see my face, but also you can see the screen, like a streamer setup, low key. I'll try maybe to do that. And maybe I'll also try to do more like short videos, like reacting to certain like news. If there will be some news, I will be trying to make a shorter video, but like quicker, release it quicker. Just to be more like direct. So let's see if I can do that. And regardless, if I can or cannot do that, next week there will be another show and more like a podcast digest of things that happened throughout the week. So thank you for watching. So let's wait for the World Cup and let's hopefully enjoy some good football and it will be fun. So Lux Ball. And ball is life. See ya.